Hi everyone. I'm not supposed to film this late. It's like 11 o'clock or something. No, I don't sleep anyway. I just needed to just get this off my chest. This cost of living thing is really bothering me. Now, I'm very fortunate. I'm not going to say I'm not fortunate. I'm a single woman. I live on my own. So the struggles that I have right now, they're not as bad as they really could be. I gotta be real with you. The struggles that I'm going through financially, they're not that bad. They're not like really, really like terrible or anything, but it's just that the cost of living crisis is just really squeezing me at the moment. I'm overdrawn by more money than I usually am overdrawn, and it's stressing me out. And the worst part about it is that even though there was stuff on my part that I could have done to make it better, the worst part about it is that I've been charged with a certain amount of money through no fault of my own, and it's just messing with me. It's getting harder and harder to be able to eat and and manage basic things for myself. So it's really a matter of me having to prioritize what's important now, because I can't spend money the way that I used to. The things that used to help me cope as a targeted individual, that's being whittled away slowly but surely. So it's like I don't even have that safety net anymore, as I'm getting broken into and stolen from and contaminated, and that's just when I'm gone out. Like, on top of that, I'm being electronically tortured on top of everything else that I'm going through as well. And I'm still being harassed and stalked. So a lot of the coping mechanisms that I use to kind of help me get through the torture, a lot of that is whittling away as well because of the cost of living thing. Now, again, my situation is nowhere near as bad as it could be. I do have health problems. I do have issues with my teeth and my organs and stuff like that. So I'm not saying that my life is perfect. I'm just saying that it's not as bad as it could be, all things considered. At the same time, it's just really, really difficult. It's increasingly difficult to lead a proper life. I couldn't even live properly before, when things were relatively good financially. Now that the cost of living is squeezing everybody, like, it's only now just starting to hit me, like, in a real sense. I guess the silver lining in the cloud is that my neighbors can no longer steal my Wi-Fi. I'm sorry. I guess that's the silver lining in the cloud, that my neighbors can't steal my Wi-Fi anymore. I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. I guess that's one silver lining, right? That's one silver. I'm sorry, I didn't think it was going to be funny when I said it. I guess that's one silver lining. They can't steal from my, fucking Wi-Fi anymore, I guess. But yeah, it's really affecting me. Bills are getting harder to pay. And it's like, it's like, I'm not used to not having this much money. Like, I'm not used to that. At the same time, there are people who have been in thousands of pounds of debt before this even came along. And the debts that I have accumulated, they're nowhere near that. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're nowhere near that amount of money. And I think this is where, like, being poor is a blessing and a curse. Like, having a shitty credit score is both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because I haven't borrowed a lot of money. Like, I haven't incurred as much debt as I could have done. I have incurred student debt, but the way it's going, like, I might never have to pay that off. I might never have to pay that off anyway. So I got student debt, but I don't have to pay that off. Not for a long while yet that I can see. And then on top of that, because I don't have any overdrafts, how much I'm overdrawn, it's not as bad as it could be. It's nowhere near as bad as it could be. I could be thousands of pounds in debt and it's just nowhere near that bad, right? So yeah, it's just nowhere near that bad. Like, there are so many things going on in my life that could be so much worse. And I just feel very blessed that they haven't just reached rock bottom at this point. I'm just very, very blessed. But it's still incredibly stressful, especially when you consider that I'm still getting tortured in my head and I'm still getting tortured in my fucking chest. I've had chest pains all day. Been tortured in my chest and being tortured in my skin. I had a really hard attack, like right here in the middle of my head. And, I'm still getting harassed. Like, it's not really that bad. It's like, it's just spying and like just taunts here and there. Like, it's not really anything to write home about. And it just say the same shit anyway. I do get some, when you're a targeted individual, like, there are certain themes when it comes to targeting. There are themes that your handlers kind of experiment with the kind of people that they put in front of your face to let you know that you're being watched or what have you. So they experiment with different demographics. They experiment with different colors of clothing. They experiment with different genders and stuff like that. So they experiment with different types of people to see what you respond to. And it's just the same as usual. They do that, and then also they just say the same shit all the time. It's nothing worth writing home about, really. It's more annoying and boring at this point than it is traumatic. So it's like, I'm still getting, harassment, and I'm still being spied on and stuff like that. But all of that is really low level. It's low level stuff. It's just doing stuff just to do it. It's very low level. And, the electronic attacks are the worst. But even the electronic attacks at the moment, they're not as bad as they could be. They're not as bad as they could be. Something tells me they're really holding back. And I don't know why they're holding back. I don't know why this is happening, but I feel like the people that are electronically torturing me have been holding back for a while. And I can only assume that it's either they're trying to save it for a situation where they think I will be most vulnerable, or they're just trying to keep it unpredictable so that they can somehow throw me off and remain in control. I don't know what they're doing it for, but at this point, it's just when you're a TI and the perps are struggling as a direct result of what they've been involved in, and that even the electronic weapons, the non-lethal ones anyway, can't be used as liberally as they once were because of the fucking cost of living. They can't be used like that as much as they used to be because cost of living has just hit everyone in the arse. At this point, it's just people are just doing stuff just to do it. Do you know what I mean? So it's hardly worth writing home about at this point. It's not worth writing home about. And I've been so focused on Empress Justice Tarot. And on top of that, there's other stuff in the pipeline that I'm working on as well. I don't want to say too much about it because I want to wait until everything's ironed out before I start announcing stuff. So there's so much that I've been thinking about, and on top of that, with the cost of living, like the cost of living and the stuff that I'm working on has been taking up a lot of my brain space, even whilst the torture is going on. And, on top of that, I don't know, like I've just been socializing more. Not like a lot more, but just socializing more, just hanging out with more people. Now, as a TI, the likelihood is that anybody in close proximity to you, or, well, not anybody in close proximity to you, it doesn't quite work out like that, but the likelihood is that you will meet people who are sent to infiltrate you. But the thing is, there's nothing to infiltrate. Because really think about it, as a targeted individual, right? If you have people who are honey traps, or people who are, trying to befriend you to get something out of you, or, sent to befriend you to try and play mind games and stuff like that, like, the only thing that they're really doing is they're trying to mine for something that makes you feel vulnerable in the moment. And what makes you feel vulnerable in the moment might not even be that bad realistically. So that's really all the infiltration is there for. It's there to amp up the feeling of insecurity by trying to mine for anything that makes you feel vulnerable, or anything that you wish to conceal, even if what you wish to conceal isn't really that bad and isn't really anything to write home about. Because a lot of the stuff that people are trying to mine in me that makes me feel vulnerable, it's not that fucking bad. Like, it's, it's not that fucking bad. Like, there are people who have secrets that are so much more shameful, and who have done wrong that is so much more egregious than me. And it's like there's nothing to mine. It's just an exercise in trying to destabilize you emotionally, so that you end up like, I don't know, going crazy or what have you. I don't know. But at this point, like, all the things that is supposed to disempower a target, being isolated, traveling, constantly having to move, constantly being subject to humiliation and all that type of stuff, it's empowered me. Over the years, it's empowered me. It's empowered me. All these things have empowered me. And it's because of who I am as a person. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a spiritual person. I am a spiritual person, and I pray and I do my divination work. So I do have something that I believe in, that I hold on to. But at the same time, right, it's just who I am as a person. It's who I've always been as a person. Like, if you can literally take me to the depths of hell, and I will find a way to run that shit. I will run that bitch. Put me in hell. Put me in hell and I will run the shit. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I'm one of those people now where, whatever position the gang stalkers are trying to put me and other gang stalkers in, I will find a way to run that shit. You put me on the street, I'ma run the streets. You put me in prison, I'ma run the prison. One way or another. You put me in a mental health ward, I'ma find a way to be like, I'ma find a way through that shit, because I always do. Okay, so it's the things that, I've had all the things done to me that the gang stalkers want to do to every TI. I've been sectioned, I've been in jail, not in prison. I've been in jail, I've been homeless, done the whole shebang, right? And again, it's not at the same level as some other people, but if there's one thing that all of my experiences have taught me, it's that the way gang stalking is supposed to work, it doesn't work the same way with me, and it will never work the same way with me. I mean, look at the back injury from June 2021. Somebody like me shouldn't recover after 2 weeks, but I fucking did it. I recovered in 2 weeks after not being able to walk. After having to crawl to the toilet, I recovered in 2 fucking weeks, was able to cross the street. I'm not one of those people that can be taken down easily. And even then, when I am successfully taken down, it's the worst thing. It's usually the worst thing that happens to people. Again, all the things that the gang stalkers want, it empowers me in the end. I feel bad, like, temporarily, and then I think to myself, if there's no possible way I can get out of this, how can I turn it to my advantage? But again, it's down to your character. And also, like I said before, they've gone easy on me. I don't know why, but they have. right? So those two things are the reason why, you know, I've been so persistent and I've been slowly building myself up. Do you understand what I mean? And I know how it sounds. I know it sounds boastful. And it is boastful, but it's also fucking true. It's also true. Look through my social media. Look through my social media. Look at what I've been doing on my social media. You know, none of this is a lie. So like, you could just look through that. Look where I was a decade ago and look where I am now. I might not be a billionaire or anything. I might not be one of these fucking, you know, lifestyle fucking vloggers or what have you. Like, I might not be one of them, but like, considering where I was 10 years ago, I shouldn't have even been here. And yet I'm here. I'm in this situation where I am successfully managing shit. Again, my social media says it all. Look through my social media, how I was then and how I am now. Look through it. And all of that was after everything the gang stalkers had thrown at me on paper. And they're going to throw more shit at me. I'm getting older and I'm becoming more emotionally resilient, which means that they're going to increase the physical pain now. Because that's what they do. That's what they do. I'm still going to fucking thrive. Because I always fucking do. But I'm not going to lie to you and say that I don't get stressed out at like being tortured, and I don't get stressed out at the cost of living stuff. I get stressed out. I really do. It really stresses me the hell out. I've got all kinds of mental illnesses because of all the abuse that I've been through throughout my life and the abuse that I'm still going through. I ain't gonna lie to you about that. It still affects me, but how long can you continue to say the same shit until you get a clue? How long can you continue to do the same shit until you get a clue? I got a clue years ago. I don't know why my attackers aren't doing the same, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah, so... Oh yeah, I was thinking about that Simone Biles and Jonathan Owens thing. And their situation is just very fucking human. Their situation is very fucking human. This is the thing, right? Many of us are fearful all the time, right? And because of our fears, we end up in ill-advised situations. And what happens is those ill-advised situations, our super egos will take over and tell us to continue these ill-advised situations, in spite of our intuition or that quiet voice in the back of our minds going, maybe this isn't a good idea. Because our intuition doesn't yell at us, it just whispers, right? Whereas our egos and, you know, our traumas is just loud as fuck, and they're like, no, go into this. This is your destiny. Go into this. And then the more you continue on this road with that little voice getting quieter and quieter, the longer you continue on with this, the more you emotionally emotionally invested you become in this path that you're going down. And the more emotionally invested you get in this ill-advised situation, is the less you want to admit to yourself that you were wrong. But it's like the longer it goes on, the harder it gets. The best thing to do is just to cut your losses as soon as that little voice in your head says, yeah, nah, this isn't a good idea. That's the best thing for us to do. But because we're not trained to actually listen to our feelings and listen to our intuition, we end up in ill-advised situations that our egos and our desires keep reinforcing And then we get more and more emotionally involved in these situations, and we become more emotionally invested in these ill-advised situations, to the point where getting out is just the most humiliating and defeating thing that you can think of, because then you would have to admit you were wrong. You would have to admit you were wrong. And that's really what it boils down to. We're adults. We're supposed to know. We're not children. We're supposed to know. We're not supposed to make mistakes. I'm not saying that adults think we should be perfect, but we do have it in our minds that once we grow up, we're supposed to have the answers. You understand what I'm saying? We get older and we think that an increased amount of logic and an increased communication level means that we're supposed to know exactly what the fuck we're doing at all times, and it just doesn't work out like that. But it's this perception of adulthood as having reached the pinnacle of understanding that when we really fuck up and get it wrong, it can take so long for us to admit it. And by the time we do admit it, we've already lost so much. It's one of those things where when you don't listen to spirit will make you listen. It's like when you don't listen to the quietest intuition, then that's when spirit gets loud and puts you in a really precarious situation that has to force you to listen to that first voice of that intuition. Like spirit will force you into a situation where you had to listen to what was in the back of your head the whole time. Do you understand what I mean? Spirit will force it on you when you don't listen to that little voice. So it's like the longer it continues and the longer you can't admit you're wrong, is the harder the fall later on. But it happens to all of us. This is not just a husband and wife thing, or being in the wrong job type of thing. It's not like it's not just that situation. It's literally any situation that we can think of. We always overstay our welcome in a situation that we shouldn't even be in to begin with, because we don't want to admit we're wrong. That's what it boils down to. That's the core essence of a lot of the world's problems. That goddamn inferiority complex stops us from admitting where we're wrong. It's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to so many other people, and they're just feeling the fucking consequences of that now. It is so hard admitting you're wrong. And not even just admitting you're wrong at the right time it's a hard thing to do. And listening to your intuition in the first place, don't let anybody fool you. Listening to your intuition in the first place, listening to your vibes in the first place, that's even more difficult to do because we're not trained to do that. But yeah, we will find ourselves in situations that we shouldn't have been in the first place, and we'll stay in there just to save face until spirit has to get fucking serious with us and just be like, you know what? You're clearly not hearing me. Here this situation comes. You know what I mean? I'm sure that the money problems that I have now, I'm sure that was my intuition. I'm sure that spirit talking to me. I'm sure that a lot of the situations that I'm in, bar my perps being cunts or whatever, I'm sure that a lot of the situations that I'm in was like spirit talking to me like, maybe, yeah, maybe not. Just like I'm sure that there are certain situations that I'm in now that have actually spared me from really, really adverse situations. But we all have our lessons to learn, and we all have to admit that we're wrong at some point. I admit that for the longest time I've been really shitty with my money, and it's only now that I'm starting to understand why, and understanding how that I can make things better for myself, you know. And it's only now that I'm understanding that when I was a kid, I had the keenest intuition and that, you know, the strongest sense of wrong and right that I really should have listened to, rather than allowing everybody else to turn me into something that ultimately I wasn't, you know. But I'm learning my lessons. It's just one of those things. It takes a long time. Like, once you stop listening to your intuition and you go down that road, if you're not strong enough, if you're not detached enough from your ego, it can take a long time to change course and admit when you fucked up. It can take a long time. It can take a long, long time. Yeah, I'm getting fucking light torture on my head right now. Again, the torch is very light. It's not that heavy. It's like just subtle enough to be there, but like sometimes the torture is so light, it can be like it can leave a room for doubt. It can be like, is this coming from my own body or is it actually the torture? 9 times out of 10 it's a torture, but it's just subtle enough to leave a spectre of doubt. That's the type of electronic torture I get, because what they've worked out is that what the gang stalkers worked out long ago was that psychological torture seemed to be more effective on me than physical torture. Because physical torture, I kind of demonstrate my strength and I recover fairly quickly. But when it comes to psychological torture, it takes me a little bit longer to get over. Even though, truth be told, you can also look back at my social media for that. I never really needed my mind to function. I never really needed my mind to defend myself or stand up for myself or to remember important details. Like, I've never really needed to be mentally sane for that. And I know it sounds like a weird thing to say, but neurodivergence is a very different enterprise from mental illness. Neurodivergence is simply not being able to receive information in the same way as other people. That's not necessarily anything to do with your sanity. There are times where I've literally lost my sanity and I was still able to gain control over my situation. It didn't matter what the situation was. Again, check my social media. Do you understand? Check my social media. I could lose my sanity tonight. Touch wood, I won't. Touch wood, I keep my sanity. Touch wood. But I've lost my sanity before. And I was still able to maintain control, some control over my life. A lot more control than the gang stalkers wanted me to have. I've still been able to do that. Again, social media, that will tell you everything. Look through it. Not a lie. Do you understand what I'm saying? And it seems like the more that I struggle anyway, is the more attention I draw to my cause. And the more attention I draw to my cause, the further I go towards getting justice. So it's like, yeah, you know, I just need to learn to have thicker skin when it comes to people harassing me on my page or people slandering me online. I need to have like thicker skin when it comes to that, because truth be told, their slander and their trolling, it actually helps with engagement. So I think I need to learn to have thicker skin when it comes to that as well. Like having thicker skin when it comes to dealing with sociopaths on my page. Do you understand what I mean? And the more engagement I get is, you know, the better it is. Even if you get banned, right? There are some people who get their accounts banned and having to recreate, you know, new pages and stuff like that, and then they come back bigger than ever. That could happen to me. That could happen to me. I could have my page taken down, come back bigger than ever, badder than ever. more important and more noticed than ever. That could happen to me. So it's like, you know, good or bad, caught all attention. Any attention is good attention. And I used to make fun of the perps for that because, you know, I used to roast them for the fact that it didn't matter what type of piece of shit attention I gave. Again, this is back when I wasn't sane. I used to note that it didn't matter what piece of shit attention I gave them. It was better than me not mentioning them at all. It was better than me not saying anything about them. Do you know what I mean? I used to say any type of any piece of shit attention they get, I used to roast them for it, you see? I used to roast them for that shit. Mercilessly roast them. But now I'm starting to understand. Caught attention at all costs. And I realized, as reckless as and embarrassing and as crazy as my behavior could be, that actually helped me, because without that, I wouldn't have a TI community. I wouldn't be getting interviews. I wouldn't have any public platforms without that behavior. Caught attention at all costs. If you get fucking trolls, this is why emotional management is so important, because we're going to go through physical pain. We're going to be debilitated. We're going to be humiliated. We're going to be broken into. We're going to be contaminated. We're going to be, all these things are going to happen to us. And we have to learn how to emotionally manage them so that we can get what we are supposed to get out of the situation. So that we can have a situation that benefits us as targeted individuals. Emotional management is so fucking important. A lot of people misunderstand it or take it for granted. But the two most important things are our emotion and our health. People have the health thing down physically, but emotionally, it's like, I don't have time to sit around talking about my feelings. You don't have fucking time not to, especially if you're being tortured. And I read from the book of Jeet Kune Do. I've mentioned this before, right? The book of Jeet Kune Do. It was a book by Bruce Lee. It's basically like a scrapbook of all his notes, right? And one of the most important points in this book, and I will never forget it, right, is that you have to become one with your illness. In order to cure your illness, you have to become one with the illness. That's what you have to do. You have to become one with your sickness in order to move through it. When I was debilitated and I was prevented from walking, and I got tortured in my back and in my pelvis and in, you know, in my hips. When I got tortured in those three places, right, I became one with that pain, and I became one with that debilitation, and I became one with those things. When I was insane, or, well, crazier than I am now, when I had mental illnesses, I became one with the craziness. I became one to the point where I was able to transcend it in order to do what I needed to do. I became one with my isolation. I became one with my short stint in a prison cell, in a jail cell, in a police station. I became one with my sectioning. I became one with, you know, people calling me crazy. I became one with all these things. And when you become one, you transcend or destroy. Because that's what it allows you to do. Destroy from the inside. And that is what a lot of TIs must learn. And what a lot of TIs fail to learn. Because it's all about, oh, I want this to stop. 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 I need this to stop. Like, you keep thinking about what you need and what you want. That keeps you in want and keeps you in need. Pause. Go within. Go with, it's helped me. I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Go within. Fix it from in here. Learn the art of acceptance and of radical acceptance of yourself and your situation. Because once you become one with your situation, you transcend your situation. And then it's a day-by-day thing. It's a day-by-day thing. It's not quick. It takes a while. It takes a while. You move through it step by step by step by step. Take it day by day. Like even minute by minute. I take it second by second, my guy. I take it second by second. Every second I always see how I feel. And I know it sounds like some fucking hippy dippy shit, but trust me, this is what is needed in the TI community. Emotional intelligence. And a lot of us lack that. Let's be real. And what I'm suggesting is actually not easy, because the torture leaves us tense. The harassment leaves us tense. The unlawful surveillance leaves us tense. So what I'm suggesting is actually not very easy at all. It's actually very difficult because it involves being relaxed. It involves doing whatever you can to relax yourself. And that can be difficult if, in the case of some TIs, you're being hammered so hard you can barely think. It can be difficult if you're the type of TI who's getting hammered, but you still have to go to work. But it's like you have to, like, even if it's like I said, I take everything second by second. Do the same if you don't have the time. Take everything second by second. Whatever spare moment you can get, become one with your situation. Become mindful. Yeah? Become mindful. Become one with your situation. So that you figure out the best way to move through it. Like I said, it's not easy. It's not easy. I have been online talking about my gang stalking for 11 fucking years. I've been online talking about my gang stalking for 11 years. I have been getting used to my targeting for almost 2 decades. You're talking since my early 20s, I've learned about gang stalking. For almost 2 fucking decades. Since I was in uni, I knew about gang stalking, Freemasonry, all that shit. I was infiltrated from that time. Do you understand what I'm saying? I've known about my targeting for almost 2 decades. So believe me when I say that this is not easy. And look at where I am. Like I said, in comparison to from 10 years ago or 11 years ago to now, my progress has been very slow. So I'm not saying this is easy, but God damn it if it's not worth it. It's absolutely worth it. You know, and you don't have to be like me. You don't have to be obsessed with psychology or spicy psychology in order to get it. It's just a matter of just listening to yourself and then taking it second by second. Do you understand what I'm telling you? So, yeah. So, yeah, that's how I cope. That's how I get through it. And like I said, the results speak for themselves. I'm not a millionaire, but you have to remember, I'm tortured and financially abused on top of being on welfare. And look at what I've been able to do with the little that I've been given. You ain't seen shit yet. Huh. You ain't seen shit yet. The fuck? You know what I mean? And my health isn't even all the way there. Speaking of which, the benefits office are now talking about going into people's accounts and spying on people's accounts as if they haven't been doing that for fucking decades now. But this is what the government does. The government tries to keep people scared by, you know, implying that they're spying on everyone. They've been spying on everyone for decades now, to try to see what they can get on the public so that they can take even more from the public, so the public don't rise up against them. When you take enough away from the public, you not only thin out the population, but you ensure that whoever's left will only have the energy to work, eat, and pay bills. They want you so focused and so distracted by all the bills piling up and all the debts that you've got that you do not have time to think about what they're doing to you. You don't have time to think about the internet of bodies, for example. You don't have time to think about whether or not Havana syndrome is real and exactly how many are being subjected to it. You don't have time to think about electrosensitivity. You don't have time to think about radiation and the multiple extinction level events that it's fucking caused. You don't have time to think about any of these things. Work, pay bills, eat, sleep, repeat. That's what they want you to do. Why do you think these wars came up? These wars didn't happen by accident. It's not even about a cabal. Like, use your brain. Many of these people are operating as a business. These countries operate as businesses. And you've got arms being traded. You've got pharmaceuticals being traded. You've got information being traded. Everybody knows full well what is going on. It's just that time to thin out the population again. It's just that time to thin out the population. And of course, they're going to thin it out of people who are relatively intelligent and who understand exactly what's going on, because that's what they do. So in the meantime, with regards to this, benefits thing, oh, we're going to spy on you to see what you're doing. They've been doing that for decades, baby. It's just that now they're trying to legitimize it. And whilst they're looking into my accounts and they look into my personal business, the same fucking personal business that they refuse to give me, like they've refused to give so many citizens of this country, while they look into my business, they can go ahead and look at all the injuries that have been caused by Lockheed and by BAE Systems and by Thales and by Raytheon. They can go ahead and look into all that, all the damage that's been done to my fucking body through the military that I cannot afford to repair because it's been designed that way. They can go ahead and look into my shit. They're not going to like what they find, though. And on top of that, they can look into my medical records and see that I haven't told not one fucking lie about this gang stalking shit. I've been saying it. Ever since I found out it was real, I've been saying that gang stalking was going on. I didn't hide the shit. I didn't hide it. That's on my medical records too. So whilst they're perusing over my accounts and seeing what I'm spending and not spending, they can go ahead and look at my medical records as well. I'm sure they'll be very fucking interested to see what's in there. Again, all of this scaremongering of the public is so that nobody knows what the government have been doing. Do you seriously think our government officials are not spending God knows how much of taxpayers' money on crap that they don't need? And then on top of that, right? Let's talk about the inflation of benefits, right? Now, when Thatcher came into power, she gave people the right to buy their council homes, right? And when she gave people the right to buy their council homes, she started off cycle upon cycle of housing associations selling off certain properties to wealthier people. And that led to a rise in privatization of social housing. And with the privatization of social housing came the rise of rent prices. So these rent prices kept skyrocketing, right? And a lot of the times outside the line of inflation, as the cost of living has gone up, because, cost of living, we call it a cost of living crisis now, but the prices have been going up and been going up for the longest time now. The economy's been in the shitter since at least 2008. So on top of all the rising costs of just being alive, these landlords have increasingly charged more and more and more rent for everyone, including people on benefits. So the cost of benefits right now, the reason why benefits are so high, that can be almost directly attributed to the privatization of social housing and council housing. That is why welfare is so fucking high. It's got nothing to do with benefit scroungers. It's got nothing to do with immigrants, like these fucking gammons like to complain about. In fact, immigrants have been helping the country. Immigrants have been contributing heavily to our economy. Without them, I think we'd be even more fucked than we already are. So immigrants have been contributing to this country. A lot of these immigrants come to this country and work. Many of them, a good majority of them, I'd say, they're coming to this country and work. I've only ever met, how many immigrants have I met in my life? I've only ever met one immigrant that wasn't working. And even then, that was because they were vulnerable. And that's it. I've only ever met one fucking immigrant who wasn't working. One. The rest of them, even if they were mentally vulnerable, they were at least doing something. Do you understand what I'm saying? Contributing to the fucking economy in some type of fucking way. But this fucking image of immigrants coming into the country and not working, it's bullshit. They work. Even the ones on benefits, they fucking work. So all of this bullshit about immigrants, not true. Immigrants are not a drain on this economy at all. They're not a drain on this country at all. Immigrants are not a drain on this country. Even people on benefits are not a drain on the fucking country. When you increase privatization and you rob more and more opportunities for people to open up their own businesses, you remove more job courses, more recruitment courses, you remove more opportunities for to get interviews, job interviews. When you continuously remove opportunities from the people who are supposed to be looking for work, and on top of that, you are increasing the cost of fucking benefit housing by a mile, what do you think is going to happen? And then on top of that, let's talk about the tuition fees. Let's talk about the tuition fees. There's not supposed to be tuition fees. There are people are supposed to be able to be qualified and work in a skilled job. This country needs more skilled people, especially teachers. There's a teaching shortage. Why do we think that is? People can't afford the qualifications. So everything that is happening now is as a result of privatization. And not only that, people being greedy with the privatizations. That is what's caused the majority of the problems. Not people on benefits, not immigrants. It's a majority white government in power siphoning the fucking money. They can't manage their money properly. They don't manage their money properly. They deliberately don't manage it properly. And then they send us the bill. That's what the fuck they do. And as for the way they're treating the homeless, don't even get me started on that. As for the NHS, do you know how long they've been privatizing the NHS and like exactly how much of it is been privatized? And let's go into the police force. The police force, as far as I know, at least a decade ago, there were already, hang on a minute, was it the NHS or was it the police? I think it was the NHS, yeah. As far as I knew, according to what I heard, I don't know. I need to do more research on it. But according to what I heard, over a decade ago, public services had already been privatized by 3/4. 3/4, including the NHS. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but a large chunk of it is privatized now. You have to pay for treatments if you don't want to be on a waiting list. It's privatization that caused all of this. And now, like clockwork, the people who benefit from the privatization now want to delude themselves that they are not the issue and their greed is not the issue. Fuck off with the scaremongering. Just fuck off with it. You know what? Hang on. What time is it? It's almost midnight and I'm yelling my head off. Oh my God. Oh, it's almost midnight. Fucking hell. That's what I'm saying. These people are liars. They've been doing this to people for fucking decades. Decades now. It's bullshit. You know what I mean? Hang on a sec. I really want to go because it's really late. But yeah, privatization is the reason everything's going to shit. And guess which industries are benefiting? Well, one of them is the defense systems. The other one is pharmaceuticals. Those are the only two types of industries that could benefit. Oh, and online services, but, you know, even that's shaky. Yeah, defense systems. They're the ones that are benefiting from all of this shit. And energy companies as well. But yeah, we're all being fucked over. We are all being fucked over. And when we're fucked over like this, when we can feel the strength being sapped away from us, of course we want to blame each other. It's not because it's right, it's because it's easy. You know. But when I put it, like that, it just suddenly, my overdraft seems like a really small issue. Suddenly seems really small. You know. Yeah. But it's a fucking disaster. It's an absolute disaster. But yeah. Yeah. I don't know what else to say. My instinct is telling me, stay here. And I'm like, no, what is there left to say? I'm sure I'll remember when I come off here. But yeah. Emotional resilience is important, and learning about that is important. Yeah. I'm sure there's something else. But yeah. It's coming up to New Year now. As I'm recording this, we're as soon as it turns midnight over here in the UK, it's gonna become the 30th of December. Oh my God, one more day after that, and then we're officially in 2024. How is that year gonna turn out? And my concern is how it's going to turn out for a lot of TIs, especially seeing as we're going to move on to universal credit, which leaves us in even more dire straits financially. That's going to be quite tricky, you know. That's going to be quite tricky. A lot of people are suffering at the moment, so that's going to be, yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Yeah, 2024 is going to be a very, very pivotal year. As for me, I'm going to be doing, what reading am I doing tomorrow? Or on the 30th? I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be doing the New Year reading. And then on New Year's Eve, I'm going to be doing the weekly reading. That's going to be my first weekly reading of 2024. So I'm going to be doing the weekly reading on the 31st, and I'm going to upload that. And I'm going to start the dailies again once that happens, which is going to be exciting. So, yeah, be sure to subscribe to Empress Justice Tarot and Empress Justice Daily. They're both on YouTube. Empress Justice Tarot is the main channel for lunar readings, monthly readings, annual readings, and musings on tarot, astrology, and the law of attraction, or basically general occult knowledge. That's going to be on Empress Justice Tarot. And on Empress Justice Daily, you get daily readings, weekly readings, promos. I might sing on a couple of them when my chest gets better. And also there are going to be more pick a card readings and more interactive readings on that channel as well. So I'm going to leave all the links in the description. And if you'd like to contribute to my online readings, once again, I understand that everyone's struggling at the moment. Just give if you can and when you can. There's no pressure. We're all going through it right now. But if you'd like to contribute, I'll leave the links in the description as well on YouTube. And yeah, I think that's it. Fuck. Please let that be it. I hate when my brain does this. It's telling me no, you have to stay. For what reason? What is there left to say? Fuck's sake. What's there left to say? Oh. Yeah, so when it comes to what's going on over here, there's been more spying than taunting. I haven't heard if they've been saying anything, I haven't heard it. If they've said anything, I haven't heard it. They have been going out more, which leads me to believe that when I have had my Wi-Fi, they've been stealing my Wi-Fi, like I said before. I don't know. There's all kinds of stuff going on. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like they're still not letting go of the magic thing. And because during one of my spiritual rituals, somebody heard, I think it was one of my neighbors from outside, they heard me doing a spiritual ritual, and I meant to close the window, but I left one of them ajar by mistake, so they heard everything. And now it's like, well, I don't think it's the main talking point, but I think people were talking about it for a while. So it will be interesting to see how, you know, the perps respond. I already know how the handlers have responded. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. But like, we all see how the handlers have responded. But it's going to be interesting to see how, like, these perps respond to everything that they've heard. I think one telling thing about this whole thing is that one of the perps knew that I was helping people with what I was doing with my spiritual work, and they didn't care. They didn't care because their need to feel powerful by bullying someone else and by making someone else feel bad, it meant more to them than, you know, me helping other people or anybody helping other people. And I think that speaks volumes, really. I think that speaks volumes. But the truth of the matter is, if the perps want to waste their energy hating me over some shit that wasn't even my fault to begin with, then that's kind of on them, isn't it? I mean, how do you create a whole 2-year feud over a laugh? Bro, how do you create a whole 2-year feud over a laugh? And it still isn't over yet. It still isn't over yet. There's still taunting going on. There's still spying going on. There's still, attempted machinations going on. It's still happening. Like 2 fucking years. I can't this. 2 years over a laugh, my guy. I cannot. How are you so racist as a family and as a group of people that you can have a whole 2-year battle with somebody over a laugh? And then when that person chooses not to engage the feud with you, you get even worse in your behavior and in your language and in your descriptives and in the things that you do. Again, like, you have to be a special kind of evil for that. That's just ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Like, for me, it's like, you couldn't pay me to hold a grudge with somebody for 2 years. I don't care what, you couldn't pay me to do that. You could not pay me. The amount of stress, the amount of heartache, the amount of misery, the amount of humiliation. And that's the thing about us TIs. We think being a TI is humiliating. We have no idea. We're not perps. We have no idea. Being a perp is fucking humiliating. More humiliating than anything that any of us TIs could do. Humiliating. Embarrassing. Absolutely not. You couldn't pay me 2 years worth of harassing someone for what? You couldn't pay me to do that. You couldn't pay me to debase myself like that. And this is coming from somebody who was not above debasing herself at one point. Like that's just a level I would never go to. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. I could not. And that's another thing that this gang stalking thing has taught me. It taught me the limits that I'm willing to go to win over someone else. Like, certain things just ain't worth it, bro. Certain things are just not worth it. Yeah, so, yeah, they're still planning and they're still plotting and they're still, I don't know, they're still trying to get a rise out of me. I don't care anymore. Like, again, it's just the same shit. Who cares? It's just the same thing over and over. They always want to attack what they think is your vulnerability. Because in their minds, they think vulnerability is weak. Vulnerability is not weak. Vulnerability and lack of integrity are not the fucking same. Like, it's... I just can't. I cannot, man. I cannot and I will not, bro. My teeth look really bad. I think it's because of all the coffee I've been drinking. I've been drinking more coffee than normal. And I'm brushing like mad trying to get these things to look halfway presentable, but it's not working out, is it? Oh, Lord. One of the joys of getting older. I don't think it's age, actually. I just think my body's been under a lot of stress. But yeah. Anyway, my loves, I gotta go. Hang on. What time is it now? It's dead on midnight. We're almost dead on. It's like a minute to. Let's see. So anyway, like Cinderella, I'm going when the gong sounds. Is it midnight yet? Hang on, let me see if it's midnight. I'm going to leave on midnight just to be dramatic. Bong. Bong. I'm gonna go. I love you guys. Take care. Peace and blessings. Bye bye.